I was literally on my deathbed. I couldn't walk, talk, eat, barely breathe. I'm only using about 40% of my lung capacity. Can't pick up a phone, can't talk to anybody. So the only thing I had to talk to is my higher self. And I said, what do you want from me? And Spirit was like, you're going to be the beacon of healing and light. I utilized myself as a case study. And when I got my blood work back and I had eradicated 3 different types of lupus,
Welcome to the Awaken Magazine podcast, where we feature inspiring leaders who are helping our world awaken to love. I'm your host, David Trotter, and today I want to share with you an informative conversation with Niemah Nefertiti. She's a nutritional scientist who eradicated lupus and other autoimmune conditions from her own life. She takes us back in time during this conversation to a season when she was bedridden, unable to walk, and talking to her higher self, committed to doing whatever it took in order to experience healing. And for her, that was an 8-month cleanse. She talks to us about the importance of healing the mitochondria, the power center within our cells. And she also walks us through what she calls her 4-week eradication detox protocol that she utilizes to help her own clients experience healing in their lives as well. Now, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the Awaken Magazine podcast on YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Click subscribe, leave a rating or review. That's an easy way for you to help us spread the word to more people about these incredible interviews and leaders that we are sharing with you each and every week. All right, let's jump into this conversation with Niemah Nefertiti. Niemah, it is great to have you with us today. Thanks so much for joining us.
I am absolutely excited about being here.
Good.
And I'm grateful.
Yeah. Okay, so your business and your website are Women of Power Empire, womenofpowerempire.com, which of course we'll connect to everywhere. Why have you chosen specifically to focus your work on helping women?
That is a loaded question. I would start here. It started with my own family and witnessing my mother, my grandmother, my aunties, my cousins all go through so many health issues, particularly autoimmune issues. And that inspired me to really delve deeper into the realms of healing and loving yourself deeper and nutrition, of course, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being, because I just witnessed that growing up. And I was like, and then I ended up with lupus and 2 other autoimmune disorders myself. And so that gave me the inspiration to want to move forward in the healing.
Yeah. Take us back to your childhood. Did you grow up in a family where health and wellness and nutrition were a major focus? Was that newer for you later on?
I would say, that your questions are amazing, because at first that's also a loaded question. I would say that it was a partial mix. I feel like my parents gave me what they had to give at that time where they were. And my dad absolutely was into the healing medicines and native medicines. My dad is originally from the Caribbean and things like that. And in pulling your herbs and your food naturally from the earth is just a natural part of life.
How would he integrate that into life as you were growing up? What did that look like?
I mean, he would always make medicine. and he would always give us natural herbs. There was no going to the doctor, I mean, unless it was something really serious. We went to the
Yeah.
hospital and the doctor, because I know that medicine has its place,
Sure.
and sometimes it's necessary. So at the end of the day, my dad would just make the medicine. He would grow the food. We would have our herb garden. We would have our fresh fruits and vegetables. My dad wanted us to stay away from processed foods as much as possible, and sugar. And so that would be how my dad would navigate his home.
Was that here in the United States?
Yes, that was absolutely here in the United States. By the time my parents, got over here, we lived in Miami, Florida. We lived in South Georgia, Albany, Georgia, a little small town right outside of Atlanta. And, it was just beautiful because it was really country and rural. It wasn't like really city.
So you grow up in a household where you're being provided with herbs that are medicine, which, I mean, for me, that is very unusual. I was like, here's some aspirin. Like, here's some aspirin and a hot dog. That'll make you feel better. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
So did your mom also have a similar health and nutrition focus?
I would say they were definitely opposite, which made a very fun household, because my mom was about baking and making the fun food and the pies from scratch and the biscuits from scratch and all of the food from scratch that she could make. She was going to make the candy. She was going to put the pork in the beans. My mom was just not that she was more so about, how can I feed you in a way that makes you feel joyful? However,
Yeah.
she did plant the garden. Everything, if she did make whatever, it was from scratch and it was from the garden. It wasn't the type of stuff that we have today. So I think that does make a big difference.
So tell me about your own awakening to mindfulness, consciousness, spirituality, however, that looks in your life. Did you grow up with some sort of faith or spirituality in your home as well?
Yes, I did. My father was the pastor of our church at the time. And my dad I was just meditating on him today before I got on this interview. My dad was an amazing speaker. He just moved you. He moved your heart. He moved your energy, and he was very educated. He studied all the time. Back then, we had the encyclopedias and the almanacs. He would sit down with all of these encyclopedias and almanacs and the Bible and other spiritual material, and he would read it. And then when he gave his talks, he always just wowed me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what type of Christian background or faith was this?
It was basically, my dad started out as a Jehovah's Witness, in the Jehovah's Witness community, and he absolutely loved it. And I would say being part of the JW community, the Jehovah's Witness community, it actually inspired me to play the violin, because that's how I ended up being a professional violinist, because I'm listening to classical music all the time, even in my mom's room.
Wow. So you're going to church in this atmosphere, you're hearing the inspiration of your dad. How did that impact your own spirituality and faith as you kind of grew up and left home?
Wow, this is another really great question. When I was 5 years old, I feel like I had a spiritual awakening. I started asking my dad questions he couldn't answer about the Bible and about spirituality. I was leaning more, even as 5, into being connected to nature, being connected to universal consciousness, not focusing on a difference, but focusing on the collective consciousness. I would say one thing that I'm grateful about going to the Jehovah's Witness community was it wasn't about race. It was every nationality. I grew up in every nationality. It wasn't like just Black, just white, just Indian, it was everybody. And so that was the foundation of me feeling comfortable with everybody. Like everywhere I went, even my divine, I tell you, he's sitting right here filming. He knows everywhere I go, any culture is attracted to me, and I'm attracted to every culture. And so growing up in that and having that as my experience, I started leaning into the oneness, nature, love. Why is it so much of a difference? What is going on here? What are we supposed to be learning here as a humans in these vehicles? Because that's all it is. It's a suit for your spirit to learn in. Why is it that I'm judging your suit? Is it because I'm judging my suit? Do I not love myself enough to be comfortable in my own suit that I got to judge something outside of myself as being something negative? So that's the questions I had at 5. That's the awareness I had at 5 years old.
And as you got older, how did that play out in terms of your choice of whether it was church or faith or things that you would read? How did that unfold for you?
Well, what unfolded for me is I definitely went to searching and wanting to know more. And I think that what happened was the first teacher that came to me once I really start looking and searching was, I would say, to be honest with you, because I view everybody as a teacher of spirituality. So it's really hard to choose. But I had my violin instructor, Mrs. Godwin. And listen to her name, Godwin. That was her last name, Godwin. Young woman, European American, curly hair, sweet as pie. That woman showed me so much love. She showed me so much love. And I used to ask her, what do you believe in? What do you do? She said, I just spend my time in nature. And she turned on something inside of my head, inside of my heart. My second teacher was a Rasta. He taught me how to eat off the land. He taught me how to make salt from salt water. He taught me to go pick my food. Don't be afraid to go and get the food straight from nature and not go to the grocery store, or go here, go there, And so all of those things I feel like definitely had everything to do with my turning point, my awakening, and my path. And I'm sure there's other things too, but those are standing out.
Yeah. Talk to me about your name. In doing a bit of research on you, Niemah Nefertiti is not necessarily your birth name. It's a name that I assume you took on. What is the origin of the name? What is the meaning behind that for you? Talk to us about that.
Thank you. Yes, I was born Chastity. And I love chastity. Chastity means chaste, clean, and pure. And when I turned 16 in our culture, because my grandfather is Senegalese, and he traveled from Senegal to Haiti, from Haiti to the Bahamas. And in our culture, once you turn the mark into the beginning phases of your womanhood, you choose, a name is chosen for you that is going to represent who you are from this point to the point out of the body. And Niemah was chosen for me because Niemah is the path to paradise. And Nefertiti, I literally have a birthmark of her on me, on my body physically. And it's her exact replica. And so they gave me Nefertiti because they was like, you've been branded by the great goddess Nefertiti. So she actually is inundated in your blood and in your consciousness for you to utilize some of the energetic power of who she is as well. So Niemah Nefertiti was born.
How did that feel to have that shift in name? You said that was at 16? Is that when that happened?
16.
Yeah.
The naming ceremony, yes.
And I assume because it's a part of your culture, it's just assumed like, okay, I'm going to do this. To me, because that's not necessarily part of my upbringing, that feels foreign to me. So when you shifted names, is that like a fun experience? Does it feel deeply meaningful and rich? Is it kind of like confusing? How does that work for you?
Wow, I love that. I would say for me personally, and it could be different for someone else, but
Hmm.
for me, I felt the energy of the name. I felt
Hmm.
the shift
Yeah.
because how my life went as Chastity is totally different than how my life went as Niemah.
Wow.
I feel like, and I know because I lived it, that taking on Niemah Nefertiti also really propelled me more so into the acceptance of my ultimate purpose,
Hmm.
to be an example of
Hmm.
light,
Hmm.
be an example of love. And every lesson and everything I've encountered from that has been leading me in that.
Hmm.
Being light, being love,
Hmm.
learning
Being a
patience,
being a
compassion.
being a goddess.
Being a goddess.
Yeah, yeah. You have such a fascinating journey in terms of your career path and the things that you've been involved with. Can you take us through a little bit of the ways that you have invested your time and ultimately how that has led you to be a nutrition scientist?
Wow, yes, this is a loaded question, and wow, I have invested my time in humanities. I've been a humanitarian for the past 25, almost 30 years. I started in WIMO, which is Women Interested Minds Overs. I was in my early 20s when I created that organization, and the late Doug Greenwell, if you look him up, another one of my amazing mentors. And he ended up working for United Way, but he was the head of Georgia State University's Neighborhood Collaborative. He saw me as a promising young woman that just wanted to get out here and help. And so he was like, "Look, come here. You want to help, but I don't know this method you got going on. So I'm going to help you do what you love." So he took me on to Georgia State University's Neighborhood Collaborative. He made sure that I got an education, in nonprofit. He took my nonprofit and put it a part of this collaborative and assisted me in doing the work I love. And so I ended up ushering at least 1,000 youth off the streets into Georgia State University for full scholarship if
Wow.
they went through my program that I had created to turn a lot of these youth that were actually you thought they were just like delinquents, but really they were entrepreneurs. Yeah, they might have been out on the street doing some things that wasn't so pleasing, but they really wanted a chance. And I gave them that chance and they did phenomenal. And that's one of the things I love. And then that carried on to other parts of humanities, assisting and doing things in foreign lands, partnering with other presidents, in Africa and prime ministers in the islands and, teaching eco-sustainable community building and all of these things. So that I have been doing that work and been just kind of quiet about it, just doing it. I mean, because I'm up for an honorary doctorate, I got my letters of recommendations from all of these presidents and prime ministers and people I worked with over the years, and it just brought me to tears because I didn't really realize how much work I've done.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
didn't even realize it.
Wonderful. And what was the shift for you then toward nutrition? You obviously grew up with an emphasis there from your father.
Mhm.
What was the shift toward nutrition? How did that come about?
I feel like I've been living in it. When I became 19, I became a raw food vegan.
Okay.
And I also was doing work, part of my humanitarian work that I was doing. I actually was creating nutritional plans for cancer patients
Hmm.
in Atlanta, Georgia. Work with another general practitioner there named Richard. And I was on his lecture circuit as well. So nutrition and health and healing has always been there. It's
Mhm.
nothing I never abandoned. It's
Mhm.
like I do this and
Mhm.
I do this,
Mhm.
and so um that was always there. Me, exercising my own will to want to care for myself the best that I can, the best ability that I can.
Mhm.
That was always there. I would say the main focus where it become like this is the main focus is after I almost lost my life, which was recently. You know, I was literally on my deathbed. I couldn't walk, talk, eat, barely breathe. I'm only using about 40% of my lung capacity. I couldn't even walk one step. And I'm lying in the bed, looking in the sky. Can't pick up a phone, can't talk to anybody. So the only thing I had to talk to is my higher self. And I said, what do you want from me? Because whatever it is, I'm going to do it. And Spirit was like, you're going to be the beacon of healing and light. And you're going to educate people about your cells. You're going to educate yourself about your cells. You're going to educate yourself about epigenetics. You're going to educate yourself about the deep layers of nutrition and healing. And whatever it is going on with you, it's gone. It's gone. Accept that. Now walking that. And so that's when I was like, I got to get educated. And that's when Stanford University School of Medicine came up. And that's when I said, well, it was a certification program that they were doing. And I was like, let me do this. And I wasn't even well. I was weak. But I sat on that couch 16 hours. I studied. I did my case studies. I utilized myself as a case study. Thank you, babe. And when I got my blood work back, and I had eradicated 3 different types of lupus, it's gone.
Amazing. Take us back, though. I want to hear, how did this start to show up in your life? You were just living life and then started having some symptoms. How did this unfold to the point that you were bedridden? How did that all take place?
Okay, so if I was to be very honest with you, I feel like tiny little signs were showing up since I moved here to California. When I was in Hawaii, my lifestyle was very stress-free. You know, I wasn't an empty nester. I had my children and my dog, and you know, it was just a whole different lifestyle. I feel like when I switched lifestyles, the stress of moving, I had went through a financial shift where it was a financial, I guess, pause or spiral or whatever, you know, you want to see it as. And that was stressful. And then I got here and it was a lot of environmental stressors. The food wasn't as clean. The air wasn't clean. It was a lot of traffic. And I just feel like that whole shift into this lifestyle to this one really took a toll on me. It took a toll on me. And I also was pushing myself a lot. Instead of listening to my body, I started drinking energy drinks. That was out of my wheelhouse. You know, drinking coffee, that was out of my wheelhouse. I wasn't really doing those things before. But instead of listening, she was saying, I need rest. I need raw food. I can't even tell you how many times I told my mate, I should be eating raw now. And didn't do it. Because at that point, I just wasn't exercising discipline. She was talking, I wasn't listening. And so I had to deal with the consequence, because what she was doing is she was about to make sure that I didn't get the lupus if I had been obedient. But my disobedience caused me to have to deal with, now all of a sudden I start breaking out all over my body. Like, David, my body did not look like this. I looked like a burn victim.
Wow.
Face, arms, hands. I was scratching all the time. And it was like I was burning on fire. It was like you could never, ever calm this itch down. And that happened first. And then after the severe skin, then I just started feeling really weak. I was trying to figure out what that was. I was like, why am I feeling so weak? And then it went from weakness to the solar eclipse happened. Do you remember the solar eclipse last year?
Yes.
I sat outside during that solar eclipse, and I was just like, Spirit, what do you want from me? Whatever you want from me, I'll do it. There's that prayer again. 2 days later, I was bedridden. 2 days later, I couldn't move. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't hold my head up. I couldn't do anything. And I was just like, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to have to heal myself. I have what it takes. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it.
What were some of the conventional, did you go down the path of conventional medicine, or was it more holistic from the beginning?
It was totally holistic by default, because I tried to get to the doctor and the appointments was so far out, months and months and months, 8, 9 months before I could get seen by anyone. So that was like Spirit saying, no, you're going to do it. You're going to do it, because we're not going to even get you there. You're going to have to do it. And so it became my responsibility.
So walk us through the steps of what you did very practically.
Okay. So practically, what I started to do was detox. That's number one. I innately knew I was going to have to detox myself, because through my education studies throughout the years, every single thing we experience, there's a parasite attached to that. I don't care what it is. It's a parasite. And so to eradicate the parasites, that's number one. You got to get the parasites out of the blood, so then the white blood cells can repair themselves quicker, because they do. They have 5-day and 5-week-old white blood cells. The bigger ones eat up all the gunk, and the smaller ones are recreated on a consistent basis to make sure once the bigger ones burn out, the smaller ones grow, and they grow really fast, and they eat the gunk out of the bloodstream very quickly. But they can't do that if you have too many parasites in the blood, because then the parasites, they leave toxins that kill the white blood cells. So I said, let me detox. Let me get the parasites out. So I went through a very extensive detox where I'm just drinking green juices and doing detox teas.
Wow. For how long?
I did it for 8 months.
8 months. Green
I did it for 8
juices.
I did it for 8 months. I did
That's
it for
all
8.
that's all you ate?
All I ate. How long you would say, honey, that I just did just juice? Because this was my juice guy. How long would you say that I did juicing? Like just the juice greens and the juices? So I wasn't eating any food.
I think probably about
8 months.
Yeah, 8 to 6 months.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And you must have lost a significant amount of weight in the process, I would assume, right?
David, absolutely. Unrecognizably small. I'm still really small now. I'm sorry. I really appreciate it. But I was, a voluptuous woman. I come from a line of voluptuous women with the hips and, or everything is thick and small, tiny waist. I went from that to literally skin and bones. Skin and bones. I had no muscle. I had lost 50 pounds of muscle. Muscle atrophy had set in as well. So yes.
So 8 months of detoxing. What came next or in the process?
Okay, so after the detoxing, and now I got to regain my muscle strength. And I'm going to say this because one thing about me, I'm going to always be honest, and I'm going to always give credit where credit is due. After I eradicated the lupus, now I got to rebuild, because I could barely lift my arms because I had extreme muscle atrophy. I could barely move. It had got to the point where now finally I'm able to see a rheumatologist. And I went to this rheumatologist, and I felt like they really did care about me, because they wasn't trying to push medicine on me. They wasn't doing that. They had already told them, I said, this is not what I want to do, but what I do want to do is figure out how to regain my muscle strength. And so the rheumatologist was like, we're going to have to put you on a steroid, but let's do a small amount and for a small amount of time, just so you can regain your muscle strength. And so I did. And it was extremely helpful to me regaining my muscle strength so I can get back to the gym, so I can walk, so I can do these things. Because when it comes to mitochondria repair, exercising is critical to mitophagy. And mitophagy is a process of your body getting rid of old dead mitochondria that's not being used. The mitochondria has to have exercise and a proper nutrition, so that it can give you the power that you need to rebuild all of your cells. Because it's actually the battery of everything.
Okay. Yeah. So take me back. I think that's like middle school science class right now. The mitochondria, what is it? What does it do? You just said it's the power behind everything.
Yes, it is. It's actually a organelle, and this organelle is actually the powerhouse to all the cells. So imagine having your car and then the battery in the car. The mitochondria is the battery in the car.
In every cell of our bodies. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
so you're saying that we need to heal the mitochondria in the process, and we need exercise, we need proper nutrition. So for you, is there any way to, you said you were doing some tests in eradicating lupus. Is this a blood test, or help me understand this? I'm not familiar with it.
Yes, it is. It's a blood test. And then there's several blood tests that I had to take. So I just had to do one just recently as well. You know, when you go and you have any type of autoimmune, they send you to get labs. And they send you to get labs quite often because they get to see, you know, what your blood is looking like, what's still present, how much of it is still present. So then they can know, usually the doctors, what to do. But it's also very helpful for me. I also not only got the blood test done from my doctors, but I also went to a naturopathic and got a blood analysis done. The blood analysis lets you see things in your blood that the blood test doesn't. Like mold, like parasites, like what your white blood cells are doing. So those things you get to see in a blood analysis, but in your blood work, you get to know what diseases or disorders are most present in your blood.
So now that you have healed yourself, would you say that you're completely, totally healed of lupus and autoimmune conditions, or managing it? How does that work?
I'm completely healed.
Okay.
That's what the blood work says. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's like I never had it before.
Wow.
There is no trace of it in sight. Which is a celebration for me.
Yeah.
Finding my mom had, lost her life in transition from lupus.
So one of the things that I know you talk about is that our parents or grandparents, if they have had any of these conditions, autoimmune conditions, other certain health conditions, is there a way that we can avoid experiencing those things as well? So many people say, well, it's in my family, it's in my genetics, right? It's just like kind of like giving in that it's going to happen. Like my mom has had diabetes since she was 21, and she's 75 now, taking insulin for over 50 years, and which is actually pretty phenomenal that she's still alive and
True.
functioning, right? And my uncle, he's got diabetes and he was 80, and I'm like, I do not want diabetes. That is not, right?
Yes.
Can we avoid this? Do we have any power over it?
Absolutely. That's the reason, another reason why I get deep into sharing information about epigenetics. So if you heard epigenetic DNA clearing and DNA restructuring can all be done through nutrition, emotional trauma healing, mental resetting, and blood and DNA restructuring by knowing exactly what to put in your mitochondria. Your mitochondria actually helps to restructure your epigenetics. And you can get so powered into your epigenetics that you can literally stop it from happening to your bloodline coming down behind you. You literally can eradicate it out of your entire bloodline by restructuring the DNA patterns. DNA And this is any study. You can, if you want to go do deeper research, you can. It has been, many studies has shown that through epigenetic DNA restructuring, epigenetics, nutritional infusion, that you can restructure DNA patterns. And that's for the good or the bad. You can do it for either way.
Right. And I'm hearing you say that's nutrition, it's healing traumatic experiences in our life, mental, our own mindset. Talk me through how you work with individuals specifically in the area of nutrition and helping people with women, of course, with lupus or autoimmune conditions. How do you practically help them?
Well, what I do first is I do a pre-consultation. And in that pre-consultation, it gets me into the mindset, the diet, the habits of this individual, the spirituality, their practices.
Are they honest? I mean, like if you're like, hey, tell me about what you're eating. Well, I primarily eat vegetables and so, like, come on, are they really honest?
Well, they have no choice because I have this way of getting the truth. I send I send them this 100 questionnaire, and some of the questions are redundant. They may forget that they said yes at the top or no. And at the bottom,
I think you should require them to take a picture of their refrigerator, open their refrigerator, or open their pantry. That's what you should require.
that is a good one, and I do that with the clients that want me to hold their hand a lot closer. Then I get to see the refrigerator, their cabinets. The check-ins are a whole lot more frequent. Grocery store runs, all the whole thing.
Yeah.
However, I do end up getting the truth, and sometimes, every now and then, you'll have one person that shows up that refuse to just tell the truth the first time, and you have to get to digging.
All right, so you get the pre-consultation, you help them understand, you understand their nutrition, spirituality, their lifestyle. After you understand that, what then is the next step?
Then the next step is drafting their personalized plan. Once I know because their blood type is really important. As a matter of fact, on my LinkedIn, I have a little banner that says your blood type is magic, because it is. See, this is the thing that I really, really have been honing in on. What's good for this goose is not good for this goat. So you have to get personal. People's blood type let you know what region they're from, what foods and herbs was healing to them. And now you're able to personalize it and draft it according to what's already present as a healing mechanism in their bloodline, and then turn it and activate it. And then we're going to add, maybe some other healing protocols. But the blood type is important. If you have a person that is an O positive and their bodies does better off of some meat and some fruit, a detox is imperative. Yes. And during their detox, they may not eat meats just for the parasitic process of it all. However, during their transformative plan, meats have to be incorporated in there here and there, or they may not heal. And so the blood type, the region that they're from, all of these things are extremely important in the healing process of the individual.
And the primary individuals that you help, they're focused on healing lupus or autoimmune conditions. Is that correct?
Well, I would say that the primary focus of the people, because my clientele is so well diverse, I have clients that are healing mental health, because really the protocols are very similar. I have, clients that are working on, eradicating themselves of alcoholism. I have clients with heart disease. I have clients with lupus. I have clients with RA, Sjogren's, various different types of disease and disorders. That's the reason why I've been putting the focus on heal the mitochondria, heal everything. It doesn't matter what it is.
Is there a way to test this is like, I ask so many questions out of ignorance, Niemah, because I just don't know, right? And I think the average
I
person probably
I
has
love
these questions too. Is like, is there a way to
it.
test my mitochondria? Like, is it working or not? Is there a way to actually like quantify that, or is it more of just a subjective feeling?
Well, it is a way to quantify that, and that is a great question. They have a way to test your mitochondria by they had this process where they take a cell or observe a cell,
Hmm.
and then they're able to see how much energy this
Hmm.
cell is producing,
Hmm.
or many cells are producing. They also have a way to see what's going on with the process where I was telling you called mitophagy, where cellular death speeds up, but the dead cells don't have anywhere to go. And this is the reason why stagnation is not good. You know, your body can't be stagnant. You can't have stagnant dead cells in your body, stagnant energy in your body. The energy has to be flowing and moving, meaning your colon, your intestines, your blood, your liver, because your liver has 500 functions. If it goes stagnant, which happens a lot because a lot of people do not cleanse their liver, they're not keeping the energy in their bodies moving, so they're not eliminating waste as they should, the liver starts to hide toxins in fat pockets.
Hmm.
Oh, balloons.
Yeah. So the protocol that you have just described, is that what you call the 4-week detox eradication protocol? Is that
Yes.
that's what you start with for pretty much everybody
Mhm.
that you work with? Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Hmm. And so no matter what somebody's coming to you with, you want to get them uh, cleansed so that they're in a good space to be able to move forward.
Absolutely. Like
Okay.
clean the slate, as you
Hmm.
will. You
Okay.
know, it's like, let me come and sweep the house out first
Hmm.
before I come and bring all of the healthy, nutritious groceries in here.
Hmm.
Let me clean it up.
I think what's interesting that what you're saying too is that it's not a one size fits all approach in terms of what someone should eat, because it's based on their blood type and kind of what they're looking for in their lifestyle.
Absolutely. I would say that's during the transformative phase, but during
Hmm.
the healing phase, there is a protocol that is I would say the outline is very similar, but there
Okay.
are different tweaks that's made from person to person because you have some people that's on different medications. You have people that are in different stress environments. You have
Hmm.
people that are, have been eating different types of the diets. Has been very, very different. So it is a few different tweaks that are different.
Hmm. I know that a great deal of your focus has been over the years on the womb.
Yes.
I don't have a womb, so I don't know, like, what's the importance of a womb other than creating life? Like, after the womb creates life, then it's okay, it's just hanging out there. What is what's the importance of it?
The great importance of the womb is the fact that the womb is a place of creation of many types.
Mhm.
The divine feminine, whether she has a lot of women who have had hysterectomies or partial hysterectomies, they often feel like, well, this space isn't important for me because I no longer have my womb.
Hmm.
However, it's a portal. And for women, it's a portal of healing, creativity. It's a portal of bringing beings from a different dimension to this one.
Hmm.
It is a portal of nurturing, pleasure. It is just such an important portal in the divine feminine. And because I'm a woman and
Mhm.
I have a womb and I've brought children and I've used my creative space and my healing space and my nurturing space, I understand the importance of honoring the womb,
Mhm.
understanding the womb, and studying the womb deep enough to know how to use her power for healing different parts
Mhm.
of myself
Hmm.
and to align with the divine masculine in a balanced way.
Hmm. Mhm. Okay. I know you have an information guide on your website at womenofpowerempire.com. It's called Eradicate Lupus and All Autoimmune Disorders. It's a low cost investment in order to get this information guide. What could people expect when they purchase it?
Well, what they can expect is 8 steps on how to eradicate lupus and all autoimmune disorders. A lot of what I spoke about, even on this podcast, is also in there, talking about the mitochondria, how to heal it, epigenetics, how to clear it. And it's not a super in-depth information guide because I am working on a book where I would get very detailed, and it would come along with meals and meal plan and meal prepping and, just all of the things. So people could just have all the information in one book. But until then, people have that information guide, and it has my information in the information guide as well. So if they would like to utilize me as a consultant, they can. But if they want to take this information and go on their journey of research, because you got to research yourself. You're not going to always get somebody to give you all of the answers for you. You have to go on that journey. And so what I do is give enough information for if that person is truly interested in healing themselves, they're going to go on their own personal journey of learning more and digging deeper.
All right. And that's available at womenofpowerempire.com.
That is correct.
You also have a couple of different Instagram accounts where people can follow you. What would you encourage them? Where would you encourage them to follow you?
I will definitely encourage them to follow my personal blog, which is to tell you a little bit about my life overall, at Dr. Niemah, period, Dr. Niemah Nefertiti, as well as the Womb Power _ the Eradicator. Because that page there, you can stay informed on, when there's online classes and gatherings that I host for free sometimes, events that are coming up for women, just little tidbits of information and, positive light for people to tap into around healing the womb and the eradication of lupus and any autoimmune disorder.
Wonderful. All right. Of course, we'll link to all of the your social media accounts and your website and the show notes. If you're listening on your phone, you can swipe up and click on those now. Niemah, thank you so much for healing yourself. First of all, I'm just so happy that you are doing well and that now you're taking this information and sharing it with the world and providing just support and love for others around you. Thank you so much. It's great to be with you.
Yes, thank you so much, David. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to the Awaken Magazine podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and our other conversations, would you mind taking a moment to leave a 5-star review and maybe even a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts? That's one of the ways that you can give back to the show and help us reach more people. And of course, feel free to share the episode with a friend. And if you're not already on our email list, we send out an inspiring email every Monday morning full of articles and interviews. Just head on over to awakenedmagazine.com and click subscribe and join for free. Our hope is that all the resources we share will help our world continue awakening to love.